Right, so why would you want to use colour saturation in Photoshop? Why would you want to enhance the colour saturation of an image? Well, if you are used to shooting JPEGs, then generally the camera will actually do a lot of the work for you. It will sharpen the image, it will add colour saturation, it will do the levels and curves, and you normally end up with a much nicer photograph. But if you've recently converted over to RAW shooting, then what you may find sometimes is that your images may look a little bit more bland than they used to. There's nothing wrong with that, it's just that there's more data in a raw image, and that means you have to do a little bit more work yourself to pull out all the colours and maybe add some sharpening and some contrast and tones and that sort of thing. So it's worth learning RAW because there is a lot more information there, but bear in mind you will get occasionally some photos where the colours don't seem quite right or quite as saturated as you're used to. We're just going to look at these two photos very quickly and I'm going to show you what I mean. The first one here is of some deer we took a photo of in the New Forest, and you can see it was quite a dull day. There was no bright sunshine, but the colours are actually fairly dull. So you can see here there was some slightly more green in the trees, and the grass here looks fairly dull. Now there's two ways of adding saturation to an image. You can either just simply go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and then increase the saturation there. And that will, as you see, as we slide it up, increase the saturation throughout the image. The browns on the deer here have come up quite nicely, the grass in the foreground and also the trees. You can see the colours have become a bit more rich there. So there's nothing wrong with that way. If the overall picture is fairly dull, as it was in this one, if we go to the preview, the whole picture generally needs some work. So there's nothing wrong then with just using the saturation tool in Photoshop itself or in Photoshop Elements. So that one, that looks quite nice, quite happy with that. But let's cancel that and then just show you another way. If you want to saturate parts of an image and not the whole of the image, so you want to emphasize some particular colors, so for example, let's say we want to emphasize the colors in the tree here and also the deer themselves, then you would use a kind of local brush. It's a sponge tool which then allows you to just focus on one part of the image that you want to use as a paintbrush to saturate the image. So let's have this saturation. Now bear in mind that once you've got the brush open, you can change the hardness of it. So we're going to use a very, very soft brush. We're going to have the hardness slider right over there. And then you select the diameter of the brush to what you need it for. So that's about right. That's about the size of the deer and everything. So we're happy with the brush. Then you have to make sure this is on saturate and not desaturate. Desaturate will eventually turn the image back to grayscale or black and white. So you want to make sure that you've got the saturate option marked. And then the flow, if we go up to 100%, you'll see the difference. 100% is way too rich. It'll actually add way too much colour to the image. So I normally go to around between 3 and 10%. Let's have a look at let's go to 8%. And then you basically click once and drag across the screen and painting like you would a normal paintbrush, just over the parts you want to actually saturate. So if we go over those, if it's not enough, then take your finger off, click again, hold the brush down and just drag over those, and you can see there the colours coming through. I hope you're seeing it anyway, that the colours coming through. So we've done the deer, let's just do the trees. So it's click, drag and paint over the trees in this part here, just to emphasize those colours, and that's come through quite nicely as well. That's quite saturated. And then maybe we'll just do the front grass here a little bit, leaving the trees in the background a bit darker. The reason I'm doing that is so that the deer stand out. So that's two very simple ways of showing you how to saturate colours in an image. You can either do the whole image, or you can go to a local part of the image with using the brush to actually bring out certain parts. Say a flower, you want to keep the background slightly unsaturated and just saturate the flower, you would use the sponge tool from Photoshop, and I know this is available in Photoshop Elements as well. So that's that image. There's another image here I'm going to show you which actually I illustrated in the wedding photography blueprint. So if you're a member of that section, then you might have seen this tutorial already. But the point of this is, again, when I was shooting raw at this wedding, there were some amazing colours in this hall. It was just incredible. There were pinks, blues, up lighting, down lighting, and it was just amazing colours. But when I shot raw using flash, the flash illuminated the people in the front, but the background kind of went a bit grey. Now this here was actually a completely bright blue, and there was pinks and purples everywhere. So when I got this photo through, my heart sank a little bit because I knew the colours were there. But then I remembered this technique of using the saturate brush. I don't want to saturate the people in front, so I want to localise the saturation to the background. So once again, we choose the same brush, and I'm using a soft brush with a fairly good diameter to it, so it just fits in this area in the back. I'm on saturate, and this time I'm going to put the flow up to around 14%. Now you watch what happens here as I go over the background. As I said, this is quite a dull blue at the moment, and it was very bright purple and pink, so you can see those colours coming through there already. The beauty of RAW is the colours are always there, but you just need to bring them out. So if I go over this once, so this background here is fairly dull at the moment, but if I just keep going over it, you should start to see the blues and the purples coming through. Now there's a bit of purple on that guy's shirt collar, which you can see coming through. Just keep going over. If one click or two clicks isn't enough, then you just keep clicking again and going over until you get the colours come through, and here they come now. So you can see it's gone from quite a dullish grey to this really vibrant blue, and those were the exact colours that were actually in the shot. And I'm hoping you're seeing that, because it really kind of made the images spectacular. When the couple saw them, they were really pleased that we'd managed to capture the lighting, because they'd spent a lot of money on it. So you can see there the colours are really starting to come through now, and I don't mind how bright they go because it was amazing lighting. So you can see there we've really brought out those colours. It may create a little bit of noise, which I can get rid of using either the blur tool or Neat Image or a program like that. But again, this is a case of wanting to saturate locally to a localized area rather than saturate the whole image, because I don't want these guys becoming any more saturated with colour because they're fairly bright as it is. It was the background that I was concerned with. So if I just revert that back to how it was, you can see how dull it was. It's quite amazing, and I had to get those colours out because these guys wanted it recorded properly. So you can see that's the before, that's the after, and that's how bright it was at the wedding. So if you do get some dull images coming back from shooting RAW, remember to use the saturation tool, but really use the sponge tool on saturate and adjust the flow until you get the painting of the colours coming to how you need them, how you want them, and how they looked in the original image. So I hope that's a useful lesson in colour saturation for you. I think you may need it if you've just started shooting RAW. So if your images come back looking a little bit bland, don't be disheartened. Just add a bit of colour saturation and pull out those colours that you knew were there, and you should be okay.